One of those who joined the vice president was his wife, Lynn Cheney. She stayed there for the hours the country was under attack.
When you're in a time of trauma, odd things call themselves to your attention. There were cookies on the table and bottled water, store-bought cookies, I remember. But you know, someone had decided to try to make this seem like a normal circumstance, when of course it wasn't normal.
Vice President Dick Cheney, now secure, takes charge. Having spoken to the president, he orders the military to take action against any hijacked planes approaching Washington.
My husband had talked to the president, and they had decided that the thing to do, if the airliner continued to approach, was to shoot it down. That was one of the more horrific moments I can remember. It is something you think about theoretically, you know, the necessity to sacrifice some lives in order to save others. But having actually to make the decision to do it was a very somber thing.
Once we finally received that authority then to be able to kill, that was the first step to be able to do something about it. Yet it also gives you a real strong sense of responsibility that we're basically at war.
They said all airplanes, if you come within, I believe it was 30 miles of Washington, D.C., you will be shot down.
Also in the bunker, Norman Mineta. He was talking to the Federal Aviation Administration as a suspect plane approached the Capitol.
Someone came in and said to the vice president, there's a plane out about 50 miles out. So I said to Monty Belger, the deputy administrator of FAA, I said, Monty, what are you seeing on the screens? He said, well, we're tracking an airplane coming in, but the transponder has been turned off. So we don't have any identification on the airplane. We know it's coming in fast. The same person said to the vice president, Mr. Vice President, there's a plane 30 miles out. The young man said, Mr. Vice President, the plane's 10 miles out. Do the orders still stand? And the vice president sort of whipped his head around and said, of course they do.
Some fears turned out to be unfounded, but one threat quickly became real.
114, it was an American Airlines plane headed east down over the pike, possibly toward the Pentagon.
I heard the roar of the engine. I rolled down the window and I looked up. I saw the jet banking, and clearly you could see the AA on the side. I knew it was an American Airlines jet. And it went into a steep decline and accelerated. Boom, right into the Pentagon, the side of the Pentagon. And the wings on the jet just folded back, and it just kind of crumpled. It kind of came together like an accordion, and it just pierced the wall of the Pentagon, and there was this huge explosion.
352. I think we just had an airplane crash east of here. It must be in the district area.
So then someone came in and said, Mr. Vice President, there's been an explosion at the Pentagon.
American Flight 77 hits the Pentagon with 64 people on board. The fighter jets from Langley Air Force Base had been 105 miles away at the moment of impact. That's 12 minutes flying time. Now, though, the pilots can see the smoke rising from America's military headquarters.
My wingman came on our inter-flight radio and said they want to know if, to confirm if the Pentagon's on fire. I said, yeah, affirmative, the Pentagon is burning.
I see this roll of blue-black smoke coming across the mall from left to right.
And I felt we should evacuate the Capitol immediately.
I went to my staff, I said, that smoke's not supposed to be there, what happened? And just moments later they came back and said, well, there was a third plane that's gone into the Pentagon.
I tried to call the speaker, and all the phone lines were obviously very jammed by that time. So I just ran down to his office, which is 2 floors down. Got in to see him just as the plane had hit the Pentagon. and he was standing there looking at the smoke from the Pentagon.
So I'm thinking 2 planes in the World Trade Tower, a plane into the Pentagon. Here we're sitting in this beautiful building on a hill, which is really the epitome of freedom and liberty and democracy and a symbol around the world. We got to be a target if there are more planes out there.
I said, Mr. Speaker, I think we need to leave now. Our information is there are more planes up there, and we're not sure where they're going.
So I made a decision to adjourn the House, and I called my staff. I said, have the chaplain meet me on the floor of the House, and I'm going to ask him to say a prayer, and we're going to adjourn.
It was a visiting chaplain, and I said, pray us a brief, earnest prayer. We are under attack.
I said, bring down all the planes. Have them get on the ground as soon as possible. Now, at that point, we had something like 4,836 airplanes in the air.
All flight controllers are told to go to condition Air Traffic Control 0. It means clearing the skies of all private and commercial planes, something never attempted before.
Of course, when America is under attack, when you have no idea how many planes have been hijacked, the right thing to do is to clear the skies.
It's just an immediate kind of reaction to bring the planes down, because at that point also, we probably had maybe about 10 unaccounted for airplanes.
Here's the captain. I would like to order to remain seated. We are warm aboard and are going to back to the airport and we have our demand, so please remain quiet.
Controllers intercept an alarming message from United Flight 93 bound for California. It appears to be turning back east, possibly towards the capital, and it is not responding.
United 93, understand, have a bomb on board, go ahead. United 93, Cleveland, do you still hear the center? United 93, do you still hear Cleveland?
I've determined, of course, that with only 4 aircraft, we cannot defend the whole northeastern United States. That was the sensation of frustration, of I don't have the forces available to do anything about this. We've got everything up that we can get up, and I still can't do anything about that one.
People begin running from the Capitol building.
I can't take this. I'm going home.
Word is spreading that there is a 4th hijacked plane 20 minutes out and approaching fast.
Part of my core responsibility is to protect that dome and all the people who are in that building. And that day, I thought the plane was going to fly into that building. I knew there was nothing we could do about it. And that day, I thought we were going to lose the capital of the United States to a terrorist attack.
2 jets are diverted from a training mission in a desperate attempt to head off United Flight 93. These planes, like others called on that day, have not even been armed.
Now, some of them would have just gotten in the air, possibly without any armament on board. And those would be the ones that if you have to stop an aircraft, sometimes the only way to stop an aircraft is with your own aircraft if you don't have any weapons. It was very possible they would have been asked to give their lives themselves to try to prevent further attacks if need be.
We had a sympathetic detonation, apparently one of the fuel tanks in the plane that hit the Pentagon, and you could feel a concussion on your body.
Buildings self-evacuated.
And after that point, it was just sort of mayhem.
It was very much a panic, and it wasn't controlled chaos. It was chaos.
Find out who is missing from their office or if everyone's accounted for. Okay, so if you could please cooperate.
You'd spot people's shoes, that people were so frantically trying to get out of the buildings, they actually ran out of their shoes and left their shoes behind. Women were kicking off their high heels so that they could run out of the buildings.
2 of my security people grabbed me, one on each side, and said, "We think that there's a plane coming for the Capitol." And so I was exited out down through the tunnels over into our car and was shuttled off to at high speeds to Andrews Air Force Base.
I turned around to look at the speaker and he was gone. The security people had taken him away. As you know, he's third in line in succession, so he was whisked away, literally.
As close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers FBI.
After a little while, we were told that we would intercept and shoot down the next hijack track.
New York controller did come over the radio and say, if we have another hijacked aircraft, you're going to have to shoot it down.
You kind of change gears from the peacetime mentality to more of a combat mentality.
It's gone! The whole tower! It's gone! Holy crap!
From where we were sitting, you could see there were people dying, and it had to stop. So if that's what it was going to take, that was our job. We would have done it.
We raced to where Air Force One was prepped and ready to go. The president was hustled quickly on board Air Force One. No waving goodbye, no shaking hands, on board and the doors sealed. And the Secret Service agents standing with the 13 of us from the press who get on the rear stairs were yelling, "Move it, move it, move it." But the bomb squad from the Army was insisting that we open up every computer, every notebook, every bag we had with us so they could check us for explosives. Under that kind of push-rush yelling, we scrambled on board the aircraft and took off very, very quickly.
Never seen a plane take off like that. From where we were standing and looking back on it, the angle was almost, for where we were looking, it looked like it was going almost straight up.
That takeoff was historic. You know, this plane, these types of planes are not, they don't do this every day. And this vertical takeoff straight to 40,000 feet was, you know, really a very dramatic takeoff.
And for the first time that day, I felt a chill of foreboding. We were alone on an aircraft, the skies were empty, the terrorist threat was still undefined to us. We knew very little. The TV signal that we could see in the front of our cabin on the screen was very weak. It showed smoke coming from the Pentagon. It had more questions than it had answers.
We were told if you have any electronic device on you, turn it off. They all emit a signal. It's very important that we limit our electronic signature.
No one is to use their cell phone or pagers. No two-way paging, no cell phones, period.
Make sure that it's turned off. Even if you think that you've turned it off, check it.
And we were like, why? I said, well, we could be, you know, being tracked. It was unprecedented.
It's worse than